Chris, we have sliced the field in half. We started with 8 teams in the FHSAA playoffs. We're now down to 4 teams after the first weekend. University and DeLand are still around. They play each other. Mainland and Rockledge. Mainland's still around as the top seed in 3S, and then Halifax is still around. They head down to Melbourne Central Catholic after not playing last weekend. They kind of got that first round bye based on their classification. But lots to talk about this week here on Quick Slant from the Daytona Beach News Journal. I'm Chris Vanell. That is Chris Boyle, as you know. And Chris, I did want to just start with kind of your overall takeaways from week 1 of playoff action, what we saw last Friday.
Yeah, I think it mostly went kind of according to the script. I think we kind of saw what we expected to see. Matanzas and Atlantic drew really tough first round away games. Mainland was dominant at home against the overmatched satellite team. University was able to do what it did the first time around against New Smyrna. And then DeLand and Spruce Creek, we knew that was probably going to be the best game from a competitive standpoint. It didn't really disappoint. But Javon Ross made some huge plays there in a very short amount of time to turn the tide. So, I think all 5 of the games that we picked, I think we were all pretty much unanimous. And, those games are exactly how they played out. And we'll see what goes on here from here in round 2, because there's some really good matchups on Friday.
Man, that's got to be the first time all year we've gone undefeated with our picks. Me, you, and Ryan.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we all ran the table, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, Chris Boyle, for those of you who don't follow our weekly picks, Chris Boyle is well established in the first spot. He's got the best record of our weekly high school picks on the season. I'm in second place, and then our editor, Ryan Pritt, the contrarian of the group, is bringing up the rear. Let's go to University and DeLand. We saw those 2 teams last week. I saw DeLand. You saw University. University is the 2 seed, DeLand the 3 seed. And even though University is the higher seed here, they lost. They've had 1 loss on the season. They lost to DeLand in the regular season. That was a 14-3 DeLand win about a month ago. What are you watching in the second go-around of this matchup?
Yeah, can University get over the hurdle, right? This is a team they've never beaten. They've played 6 times now, and DeLand's won all 6 matchups, and that includes a 14-3 regular season meeting here this time around. And I think we're going to see more offense. That's just my gut instinct, is that the offenses have a bit more of a part to play here. DeLand won this game up front the first time around. Their defensive line with BJ Campbell, with Caleb Oliver, with MJ Smokes, they were consistently able to get some pressure on the quarterback. And DeLand had 2 big interceptions in that game and a special teams touchdown as well. So, I don't think anyone's defended DeLand quite as well as University did this year. They were able to keep Javon Ross out of the end zone, which as we kind of alluded to in the game last week, is no easy task. And likewise, DeLand was able to slow down Jermaine Hayes, who was a similar every down dual threat kind of player in 3 different phases for University. Dual threat offense defense, but he also is their best return man. So all things considered, I expect that we'll see those 2 guys have more of an influence, and we'll see more the offense really kind of come to play, I think, for both of these teams. I don't expect it to be a 14-3 final again.
Yeah, I'm not a betting man. You mentioned that Jermaine Hayes from University and Javon Ross from DeLand did not score in the first matchup. Again, not a betting man, but if I were to place a ginormous wager on this game, that ain't happening again. One of those guys, if not both of those guys, are going to score. So it should be another good game. Yeah, absolutely. Mainland, the top seed, like I said, in 3S, they come in with a 10-1 record. They lost that final game of the regular season to Lake Mary, and then they came in and just demolished Satellite. Score got up into the 60s. It was another shutout for their defense. They take on the 5th seed Rockledge, who we saw this matchup in the playoffs just a year ago. So again, they're familiar with each other, kind of continuing a trend of all these teams we're talking about today being really familiar with each other. What are you watching for in this one?
Yeah, in last year's playoff run, I think this is the game that Mainland figured out who they were. I think this is where they really kind of embodied a power run game, and that was going to be their most likely path to offensive success to get to the state final. They were able to run the ball really well, especially when it mattered off the left side, and they have the players in the backfield to continue to do that. They're going to be very comfortable running behind Madden Santiago and Christian Hudson. Obviously, they're going to want to make the Rockledge think about it. They're going to try to not let them overload the box. They're going to have to complete some passes to be sure. This is a good Rockledge secondary. You got Jalen Hayward, who's a top 150, 200 national recruit, committed to UCF. You've got a freshman there named Jiscom, who's he's got 3 interceptions on the season and leads the team, Jamarcus Jiscom. And you've got DJ McCormick, who's kind of an all-action linebacker, another UCF commit. This is a good Rockledge team. I think, and the other thing too is we'll monitor the status of their quarterback. Last year he wasn't healthy, Traven Green. So assuming he's full go, which, I don't believe there's any reason not to at this point, but that was a big thing for them last year. He was not able to really kind of play at 100%. 1,058 yards, 12 touchdowns, 3 picks. He's also run for over 200 yards this year, and he's going to be a key player for Rockledge on offense. And trust me when I say that they're going to be very amped up for this game, considering that Rockledge probably envisioned a similar state title run to what Mainland experienced last year. They were the number 1 seed this time around. Mainland came in as the 4 and upset them in their own backyard. And I'm sure Rockledge wants to do the same and crash the party at Daytona Stadium on Friday night.
Speaking of another team trying to do that, Halifax, the 4 seed, goes down to number 1 Melbourne Central Catholic. Neither of these teams have played in 3 weeks, and the last time they played, which was October 27th, they played each other. And Melbourne Central Catholic won that game 56-0. Is there anything? Obviously, it's a tough matchup for Halifax. Is there anything that they can do to kind of, avoid a repeat of 56-0?
Yeah, I think their best chance comes from creating turnovers. Like when they've been at their best this year, Halifax has taken the football away and scored with it. A lot of return touchdowns this season, and those are the kinds of plays that are backbreakers for an opponent. So if you can find a way to get a pick six, a scoop and score early in that ball game, and at least give them something to think about, I think that would go a long way. Because let's face it, last time these two teams played, it was one-sided. Melbourne Central Catholic won 56-0. They were up 42-0 at halftime. They hardly had to play in the fourth quarter. They took their foot entirely off the gas pedal. They averaged almost 13 and a half yards a pass, over 8 yards on the ground. They had a 100-yard pick six. I mean, everything they could have hoped for they got in that game. They had 3 sacks. It was just one-way traffic realistically in that game. So Halifax, I think, does have to come up with a few big plays. Like I said, a much better start. You can't be digging yourself a 20-0 hole on the road against a team that has some superior athletes, particularly Day Farmer, another kid out of Brevard County that's going to be a UCF Knight in a matter of weeks here. But he's a guy that had the 100-yard pick six in that game too.
You just mentioned the word picks. Let's do it, Chris. I'll go first. I'll give you a minute to think about it. But
all right,
in these 3 games, I'm going DeLand over University. I picked University the first time around. DeLand won. I promise I'm not a jinx, but I can't pick against DeLand since they won that game the first time, and I already picked against them. Mainland, I'll take the number 1 seed over Rockledge, and then I will take Melbourne Central Catholic over Halifax. Your turn.
Yeah, we agree. I mean, like I said, DeLand and University, I expect there's going to be a lot more points this time around. University, I think, is really close. They're really close to bridging that gap. They've got, so many of their best players are underclassmen too. And I think in the long run, this experience is going to go a long way for them. Just to me, I've been around Florida high school football a long time, and I know single wing football works in November. It's not necessarily the most aesthetically pleasing style at times, but man, it's effective when it works at full go. And DeLand operates it really well, a lot better than they did this time last year. And I think that they're going to be able to do enough and control the ball, control the clock enough to win that game and wear University down. Mainland, I think, does get out of this game. I think the home field is a big thing for them. I think they'll be able to do just enough offensively, and I do think the defensive line is just such a huge thing in Mainland's favor, and I do think Melbourne Central Catholic will defeat Halifax. I expect Halifax will show up and play better in that game. They're certainly going to have had 3 weeks of ability to watch tape and things like that, but I just don't think they've got enough to slow them down for 4 quarters.
Well, we agree, and we agreed last week. We went undefeated, me, you, and Ryan. We'll
so
see
naturally, the football gods will curse us, and we'll go 0-3 this week. So congrats in advance to the other teams.
We shall see. That's the beautiful thing. We only got to wait a couple of days. We'll figure it out,
right.
And we'll be back here next week to talk about it. Of course, we'll have you covered on our website and in print in the meantime. Everybody have a good week. Chris, thanks as always for your expertise, and take care, everybody.